Welcome to the Wolfram Language in Section 25 of Fast Introduction for Programmers. This section is about managing Wolfram Language sessions, and especially about features that are useful in interactive sessions using the notebook interface. In an interactive session, you can use % to refer to the most recent output. For example, this gives a list of numbers, and % copies that result as the next input. You can also use % in calculations, so this includes the previous output in a calculation, and this gives the sum of the elements in that last result. There are also menu items and keyboard shortcuts for inserting previous inputs and outputs in a new input. For example, here is another simple calculation, and you can press Ctrl-L or Command-L, depending on the type of computer you are using, to get a copy of the previous input and then edit as you would any other input. You can also insert previous inputs within a new input. For example, this starts a new input, and press Ctrl-L or Command-L to insert a copy of the previous input, and then finish editing to complete the program. You can use Shift-Control-L or Shift-Command-L to copy the previous output. For example, here is a simple calculation, and then start a new input and press Shift-Control-L or Shift-Command-L to insert a copy of the previous output, and then finish the input. There are many situations in which it is useful to limit or suppress output. You can suppress output by putting a semicolon at the end of your input. For example, this assigns the output of the sunset function as the value of a variable t with a semicolon at the end so that no output is displayed. % still refers to that previous output, and a value is assigned to the variable t. If the output is very large, the Wolfram notebook will typically display a summary of the output. For example, this gives an output that would likely be several hundred pages long. The display shows part of the output with buttons that can be used to show more or less of the output. You can also use the short function to limit the size of output. For example, this input uses the short function to limit the display to a few lines. It can also be convenient to use the double backslash notation like this to apply the short function at the end of the input. If you need to abort a computation, you can use Abort Evaluation from the Evaluation menu, or press Command period or Alt period, depending on the type of computer you are using, to abort the calculation. For example, here is a calculation that will take several minutes to finish, and pressing Command period or Alt period will abandon that calculation and return $aborted. There are several good sources of information on Wolfram Language sessions. For interactive sessions, you can choose Wolfram Documentation under the Help menu to bring up the Documentation Center page, click the System Operation and Setup button, and then choose either Interactive Sessions or Notebook Interface. For example, choosing Notebook Interface brings up this page with links to information about all of the features that were used in this section.